So we recently completed this really big rebrand project at work, and to launch the new brand, I was able to shoot and produce a documentary film for the brand's cinematic premiere event and create a new TV spot to introduce their new identity to the public. So I wanted to make a quick video walking through and talking about that process because it was pretty cool. I'll start with a commercial, and yeah, here it is.
When do you feel at home? When you're surrounded by loved ones? Or is it in the solitude of a quiet drive? When you're dancing to your favorite song? Or wherever you have a shoulder to cry on? For decades, we've called this community home and dedicated ourselves to helping those in it find their way in new beginnings and in returns to the familiar, in victories and in defeats, so that no matter where you go, you'll feel at home.
I was shooting this between traveling all over to shoot the documentary that I'll talk about more in a minute, and the brand launch was only days away. So long story short, I had to shoot all these scenes in about 3 days. I wanted most of it to be in golden hour or blue hour, and there are more than 6 scenes, so that meant we had a really tight shoot schedule. I had to get more than one scene knocked out in the same light. So to move fast, I just used my aperture LED panels because they're battery mounted, and with a V mount, seemed to last forever. The whole point of this commercial is to show big moments in life that we all have in our cars. So the lighting setups were mostly the same. I would just diffuse the light panels and move them around for each shot so it would wrap nicely on the face, while still having some fall off and try to add some shape and drama to the actors' faces. For this driving shot with the dad and his new baby, I set up one light panel across from the camera to act as moonlight and then just set the color temperature so it came out as super blue. Then used red and yellow gels on another light and swiveled it to emulate passing street lamps. In post, I just put a little camera shake on it to sell it, and yeah, that was it. For these landmark shots, a coworker and I went out early in the morning and he just drove around while I filmed. I really wanted this to be a clearly local commercial. And we talked about using big sweeping drone shots of the area, but to tie it all back to the car and to make it feel authentic and down to earth, I instead decided to show these landmarks the way most people here view them every day, from the windows of their cars. I think it just gives off a much more relatable feel than some big cinematic crane or aerial shot could. This shot here was actually one of the first ones I thought of because I actually drive by this particular dealership every day on my way to work, and I just noticed how the sun just bounces off their building early in the morning. So yeah, I just made note of the time of day and was sure we were there by then to get the shot. I was producing, directing, shooting, and editing, but my most important contribution always, I think, is writing the script. I had to tell the right story to bring the new brand messaging to life. Most dealerships, and most clients for that matter, think their marketing is about them. They always want to talk about how trustworthy they are, how long they've been in business, their expertise. This client was different though. They really understood that this next chapter was about the customer's story and the customer's needs. So I focused on telling familiar stories of memorable ups and downs in life that we all have experienced in our cars. This way we could show the importance of the products and service that they offer, and show that McCurley understands a car is more than just a car. It's your way home. The jingle here at the end really is what makes the spot for me though. This client is really well known in their community, and for many years it's been running a jingle that people are very familiar with. McCurley Integrity Dealerships, integrity in everything we do for you. So even though their brand was moving to a more sophisticated and modern tone, I thought it was important to reference and pay tribute to it with a subtle, nostalgic, instrumental nod to the days of old. It's one of those if you know things, but it just really makes it feel like home, you know what I mean? The day of the brand launch, McCurley rented out a movie theater and brought in all of their hundreds of employees to reveal the new logo and messaging. But that's a lot of trouble for just a 60-second commercial, so we simultaneously created a 20-minute documentary film about the history of the company, the evolution of the business and community, the process of rebranding, and finally, ending with the reveal. To do this, I traveled around shooting interviews with the dealership's founders, president, and CEO. I want to say I didn't do all the shooting or editing on this documentary. I had help from 2 amazing collaborators and friends who we hired to help get B-roll and do a lot of editing to help me get this done on a tight deadline. So I can't speak to all of that, but I do want to talk about a few things that I think were really cool about what I did work on here. For the interviews, I really wanted to focus on low angles and motivated lighting wherever I could. I love this shot of the founder here. There's a softbox out of frame here to wrap around and fill in more of the side of his face, but seeing the lamp off to the side and the window here gives a sense of where the light's coming from. Even though it's not really lighting his face, it feels like it is. So having that light be motivated by something in frame just adds so much character and realism, and it's something I like to do whenever I can. Another thing I really love that we did is the photo treatment in the history portion of the doc. The client had 2 huge books of photos for me to look through and make note of which photos I wanted to use for the film, which I did, but something about turning those pages and feeling the texture and the grit of the photos was just too impactful for me to then just use digital copies or scans. So I decided what we'd do instead is shoot video of the pages turning and slide the camera over the books to reveal the photos in the piece. It just gave this tangible, personal feel that really works. It also has a very classic quality to it to me. It reminds me of like the old movies that would start with like a storybook opening, like the old Disney movies or something. At the end of the day, that's the stuff I love about what I do. Whether it starts in the script concept or find its own way in the editing process, what matters most is the story being told. And I just love figuring out how every angle, line of dialogue, or cut furthers that story. Anyway, I think I covered just about everything I can on this one. So yeah, that's my brain dump. Talk to you guys later.